In this video, we are going to profile and analyse the Asda shopper. We'll explore how your shopper profiles and shopper preferences are evolving and suggest how our offering can evolve too, keeping up with what consumers want and driving the category forwards. We all know the profile of the traditional Asda shopper. But over the last few years, we have seen this change. As has been well documented, the Asda family has migrated to Aldi and Lidl. Which means we need to understand who is shopping in Asda. How has the Asda shopper profile changed, and what are the needs of the new Asda shopper? We also need to consider changing consumer habits in general, the way that meal times have changed. Over the last 2 years, shopper numbers at Asda have declined. Promotions have become a necessity for our budget planning, and any change has had negative impacts. This has seen stores struggle to increase the quantities of sale. Since 2017, the units of beef sold per week have remained static. So how can we grow the category? Well, by understanding our shoppers better, how they behave, what they think, and what they want. Younger, more affluent shoppers are spending more in Asda and becoming more important to the beef category. For example, pre-family and young family now make up over a quarter of the category spend. By contrast, families with older children and older dependents are shifting spend to Aldi. These segments are both in decline in Asda. Retired shoppers are also spending less, but this needs to be considered in the context of it being the largest individual segment within Asda beef. We'll now explore each segment in more detail, from young, pre-family shoppers right through to empty nesters and the retired. The typical journey to financial stability has changed from one generation to the next, which means our younger shoppers have an experience that is different to that of their parents and grandparents. And that changes the way they spend. But before we detail each shopper segment more closely, let's pause for a moment to consider beef consumption habits.
Beef's one of my favourite meats just because it's very versatile. We'll eat beef a couple of times a week in different formats.
So as far as beef goes particularly, I'd say twice a week, probably, maybe 3 times.
We consume it at least a few times a week.
We tend to have it probably 2 or 3 times a week.
I do a lot of lasagnas, chilli, bolognese, sometimes cottage pies. I do quite a lot of roast beef. I do quite like a casserole.
Usually have like either a bolognese or a chili, or like a beef chunks, like kind of casserole dish. If we're feeling a bit fancy, then we'll get like a joint of beef, like a Sunday lunch.
We do lasagnas, spaghetti and meatballs, spaghetti bolognese, chilies. Also, started buying more chuck beef now, or like stewing type beef.
I'll cook things with diced beef like casseroles and stews. I'll even do a roast joint in the slow cooker sometimes. If you mince meat, you can do lots of things with bolognese, shepherd's pie, and lasagnas.
In the winter time, it's more stews and goulashes, and I'm a big fan of roast beef. And now winter's coming, I shall get to enjoy that a bit more.
In the summer, then we would buy more burgers, steak as well, have those on the barbecue. And then in the winter time, more like the stewing type, so to have a stew and stuff like that.
We can tend to eat more beef in the winter months, so in like stews and more hearty meals and things like that, like cottage pie.
In summer we probably have more steaks and more lighter dishes, whereas when it comes through to winter, you want something a bit more warming, like a chilli or a roast dinner.
Now let's break down those different shopper profiles, starting with pre-family. The pre-family tend to cater for 2 people, except when entertaining, which equates to a relatively low spend. They tend to be light shoppers in quantity, but spend more per person. They are a demographic with more disposable income, and they like to cook, not afraid to experiment a little when they do. But midweek is all about convenience, so ready-to-cook products and meal kits are a key need. Naturally, value still plays an important part of supermarket choice, with Aldi the second choice store for pre-family shoppers. They buy burgers, meatballs, mince and steak, demonstrating that they are looking for convenience as well as the scratch cook occasion. On to young families. They are still mainly shopping for meals for two, so the average spend is only slightly higher than pre-families. To give a sense of social demographic, they tend to be plumbers, electricians, junior managers and teachers. 30% of their meal occasions are scratch cooked, but they are generally looking to make meals easier through added value and ready-to-cook products. They shop around a bit more and are more likely to shop in Aldi and Tesco. The Mid family used to be part of the Asda core shopper group. Evenly split across the light, medium and heavy shoppers, these families tend to have careers and trades. They are spending less in Asda year on year and want to buy into products that make mealtimes easier. The Mid family is less loyal to a particular supermarket and looks to other grocers as well as the discounters. Families with older children are another traditional core shopper group for Asda. Adults in these families are more likely to indulge. They have kids, don't go out as much as younger segments, and like to treat themselves. That means they are liable to buy steaks and premium burgers. They work good jobs, have skilled trades, but also have the costs of children to contend with, so they are driven by price and are spending less in Asda each year. That awareness of being price conscious translates into looking for Friday night events at home. Takeaways and meals out are relatively rare, so meal deals they can enjoy as a family are more important. Families with older dependents have the highest spend, which is no surprise. Feeding teenagers is expensive. They are heavy shoppers providing for families. The adults tend to be tradesmen, admin staff, and people in manual roles. This group is spending less in Asda as they manage the spend across the family. Because they work and have teenagers, they are always looking for ways to make their lives easier. Takeaways are a favourite for families with older dependents. It's indulgence without the cost of going out. And then to our older shoppers, the empty nesters. A new-found freedom. They will be shopping for two, spending more and treating themselves. They have their own trade businesses, be in managerial positions or roles of responsibility at work. They spend more in Asda, but they also shop across more stores. They have their favourites and are willing to travel for them. But they are still working hard. Out of all the shopper groups, they are most likely to buy convenience foods and products that make cooking easier, such as assembled component meal kits. And finally, the retired shoppers. They are the largest single sector and have the greatest spend per person, and are represented across all shopper weightings. They are less affluent than the younger shoppers, but most of their meals are scratch cooked. Even so, they still want to buy products that make life easier. They shop in Morrison's and Aldi as well as Asda, suggesting that the price and quality are very important. Now we've explored these shopper profiles, time to hear what your consumers think about Asda.
I always think that it's good quality and good value for money, especially in the core range. So I would recommend the beef from Asda. It's always tasty.
My perceptions of it are that it's just good quality, good value.
I'm a regular shopper in Asda, and it's never crossed my mind that they're not good.
It's like a warehouse. Everything there is kind of huge. The aisles are big and the choice of everything's massive. But then when it comes to meat, I think when I go down the meat aisle, it's a bit overwhelming. because there's just so much of it.
Asda, I just always feels like it carries a stigma with, being poor or not having a lot of money. I just have this perception of Asda being like a poor man's shop.
Asda, they have a lot of cheap rubbish meat in there.
I think that they are cheaper. They're from like a value range. You might get more in a pack. So when I have been down the meat aisles, especially the beef aisle at Asda, instead of getting 12 meatballs, you may get 20 plus meatballs for roughly the same price. But I sometimes think that the quality isn't as good and doesn't taste as good.
I have no problems buying fresh beef from Asda. There's not that many Asdas that are local to us.
Asda? There isn't an Asda near me.
I haven't got anything against buying meat from Asda. It's not particularly convenient.
With all of that in mind, what are the basics we need to focus on? Firstly, we need to make sure our fixture space represents sales and the market trends. We need to keep promotions consistent. Shoppers don't like it when we change because it makes it harder for them to budget. We need the right products in the right stores. With shopper profiles in flux, we can better cater to them if we know where and how they shop. By communicating this effectively, this can also help get more shoppers to store. The most common need across all life stages is convenience. We believe we have seen a gap in the market in beef. We have no ready-to-cook line, but our competitors do. We think there is a consumer need, and we think Asda should launch a ready-to-cook line in beef. Changing our fixtures to match shoppers' behaviour will make the shopping experience easier. For example, batch cooking is a growing trend across all life stages. There are now over 1.3 billion batch cooking occasions each year. But it's crucial we spell this out for shoppers so they can fully understand and embrace the offering. Likewise, while we are speaking to shoppers, we should consider that there are times when we can influence more spend in store than others, and that these don't always follow tradition. Summer shoppers are going to buy burgers no matter what, but they also buy their components from lots of different stores because it's often less of a planned occasion. By contrast, roast dinners are a specifically planned meal, and so shoppers get most of their items from one store, following the shopping list. With that in mind, driving joint occasions in the summer could give a better return on spend and means more of the plate comes from Asda. In the winter, the opposite is true. Joint occasions mean less spend in one retailer. However, burgers in the winter means over 80% of the plate spend is within Asda, compared to 64% in the summer. We know that different shoppers use different channels, so we can start targeting our media for penetration gains. Coupled with targeted new products and range extensions, we can drive interest in Asda and shoppers to store. Now that we have a greater understanding of what our shoppers are looking for in store, we can better plan both NPD and consumer communications. At the Q&A session we have in the diary, we'll be sharing the concepts that have been developed from this insight, as well as a snapshot of how they've been received by consumers. Thank you for watching.